3 in the morning, a ringing phone in the dead of night. Even a titan like Rafael Nadal, whose life is dictated by the relentless international tennis circuit, expected absolute stillness. He answered it regardless. Initially, he figured it was just standard business, maybe a quick update from his training facility, some notes on his rising protégé, or a scheduling nightmare that demanded immediate attention. The reality of the conversation shattered that illusion in seconds. The caller sounded completely unhinged, breathless, desperate, and teetering on the edge of a total meltdown. The Upper Austria ladies' Linz Open, an event boasting more than 35 years of prestige, was nosediving. This wasn't a hiccup, it was a full-blown catastrophe. Box office numbers, which executives had practically guaranteed a quarter ago, had completely cratered. Greater than music. Whole blocks of seats sat empty. Corporate backers, usually the most reliable allies in the sport, were getting cold feet, reconsidering their contracts, and whispering about pulling out altogether. The catalyst for the panic, unbelievably straightforward. Alex Eala had been boxed out of the main bracket. The 20-year-old Filipina sensation, whose explosive trajectory had galvanized crowds worldwide, got sidelined when her global standing plummeted from 29th to 45th, a direct result of her defeat by Karolina Muchova down in Miami. Technically speaking, the math checked out. In the real world, it was a death sentence for the event. She wasn't merely a missing name on the roster, she was the entire attraction. This was the very athlete who had packed out arenas down in Melbourne. The phenom who sparked record viewership in Dubai, whose signature apparel vanished from Miami store shelves in mere hours. Her absence sucked the life out of the room. The money men caught on instantly. These exact same corporations had witnessed her gear absolutely shatter retail forecasts, watched her likeness take over every corner of the internet, and grasped her true market power far better than any outdated point system ever could. Now they were delivering an ultimatum loud greater than music, brutal and completely unyielding. Hand her a wild card entry or get ready to bleed millions of dollars. Before the caller even finished their pitch, Nadal had thrown off the covers. He was sitting straight up, completely wired, processing the massive stakes of this disaster. This went way beyond a single competition tanking. It struck at the core of the sport, a brutal head-on crash between old-school heritage and the modern era, a war between a rigid mathematical ladder and the new economy fueled by viral stardom, hardcore fan loyalty, and massive cultural influence. When the voice on the phone finally revealed what the brass and potentially the Women's Tennis Association planned as their next move, even the undisputed King of Clay, a veteran who had witnessed every high and low in the game, was left completely speechless. Music. April 2026, Linz, Austria. This tournament was engineered to be a massive party. Its 35th anniversary. An ultra-rare benchmark on the tour guaranteed 7 days of elite competition, dazzling spectacles and sold-out stadiums. Historic legends and current titans, including Ekaterina Alexandrova and Yelena Ostapenko, were locked in as the main attractions. The purse had been bumped up by more than $140,000 from the previous season, flashing a huge sign of expansion and raw intent. The stage was perfectly set for a blockbuster run. Then the early data dropped, turning the victory lap into a nightmare. The advanced box office stats were an absolute bloodbath. Crowd forecasts stacked on top of decades of reliable momentum had completely vanished overnight. Box office numbers plummeted past 40% from last season, historic slam dunk sellouts. Those marquee quarters, semis, and championship rounds were staring at seas of empty seats. Financial ruin was breathing down their necks, putting the entire event's survival on thin ice. The catalyst, every single suit in that boardroom already knew the answer. That Eala magic, the exact same hurricane that broke Miami's box office and spiked Dubai by 48%, had completely vanished. Alex Eala. The 20-year-old Filipina sensation taking women's tennis by storm was missing from the bracket entirely. Tumbling from 29th to 45th overall followed her devastating fourth-round exit against Karolina Muchova down in Miami. Bereft of her star power, those die-hard crowds who used to cross oceans from Melbourne to South Beach straight up boycotted the gates. The irony cut deep for the brass. 35 long years spent kissing up to regional backers and the press corps. Millions dumped into flashy ad blitzes, athlete pipelines, and state-of-the-art stadium facelifts. These guys constructed an operation known for being rock-solid, world-class, and highly esteemed. Music. Still, that legacy meant absolutely squat the second Eala vanished from the roster. In today's women's game, mere bracket rankings stand absolutely no chance against the generational superstar's gravity. This girl was way beyond an athlete. She was a full-blown cultural shift. Charm, music. Now Linz was finding out the hard way what it meant to operate entirely in her shadow. Everything else was utterly irrelevant. Spectators never gave a damn about the venue. They bought tickets for Alex Eala, and without her they kept their wallets shut. Initially penned into the calendar as a standard issue boardroom debrief, looking over the bottom line, talking future strategies, your typical suit and tie song and dance for a WTA gig. The second those disastrous box office stats hit the projector, the oxygen instantly vanished from the room. These investors had tracked the Eala hype train all season. They witnessed Dubai's gate receipts explode by 48%. They watched Miami's servers absolutely melt down under the massive tidal wave of Filipino supporters. They scrubbed through retail data, proving Ayala's gear moved more units than the entire rest of the locker room put together. Music. The math was brutally straightforward. Eala prints money. Trapped with sluggish turnouts and an older demographic, Linz was completely bombing on the ROI these backers demanded. Tempers flared across the table. People wanted heads on pikes. Music. The moment directors tried citing her plummeting rank, using that to justify locking her out of the main bracket, the backlash was nuclear. Put her on that court, a major backer barked. I don't give a damn how you do it. Hand her a wild card, fake an exemption, do whatever it takes. No Eala, no checks from us. That threat hit the front office like a 10-ton freight train. For the first time in 35 solid years of operation, organizers weren't just throwing a sporting event, they were bleeding out from a self-inflicted disaster. A nightmare no fancy algorithm at Blitz or veteran intuition could possibly fix. This went way beyond operational headaches or purse payouts. This was about one lone athlete outgrowing the entire damn game. League bylaws were crystal clear. Giving away golden tickets was strictly an inside call, typically hoarded for hometown underdogs or unranked rookies needing a shot. Beneath, on paper, the world number 45 didn't stand a chance. Alex Eala was officially locked out. But the rulebook went out the window when the Linz Open stared down total bankruptcy. Corporate backers were packing their bags. Box office numbers tanked, and the sole athlete with enough star power to pack the arena found herself sidelined by a rigid standings format, completely blind to her massive crowd appeal. Behind closed doors at the WTA, screaming matches erupted over the dilemma. Hardliners pounded the table, demanding absolute loyalty to the established bylaws. However, progressive voices fought back, claiming policies should protect the game. And if those same protocols were actively choking out potential revenue, they desperately needed to tear up the script. You can track match stats, sure, but algorithms cannot calculate raw magnetism or a die-hard fanbase. Dramatic beat. An unnamed insider hit the nail on the absolute head. They leaked, quote, Eala is way bigger than a standard baseline rally. Beat, the kid is an absolute force of nature. If our red tape suffocates growth, the red tape has to die, end quote. This boardroom war exposed a massive fracture ripping through pro courts today. A brutal clash pitting old-school tradition against pure Hollywood blockbuster energy. Strict guidelines versus viral momentum. Suddenly, tour executives faced an existential crisis. They had to prove they weren't dinosaurs in an era where a single athlete could casually break the internet, completely bypassing ancient ranking mathematics. Standing dead center in this hurricane was Eala, holding the entire Austrian event's fate in her grip. The rising star had previously established one cold hard fact. She moves serious tickets, empties out retail shops, and drags fresh eyeballs to the screen. That cloud prints cash, forcing the league to adapt quickly, either by handing out free passes, rigging the bracket draws, or completely burning down the current point structure to reward actual market power. The final verdict dropped like a nuclear bomb on the tour. League brass handed the superstar a golden ticket straight into the Austrian main bracket. Their press release leaned heavily on the phrase highly unusual situations, while openly praising her unmatched ability to inject life into the women's circuit. The internet instantly split right down the middle. Purists screamed corruption, blasting executives for gifting a slot to someone lacking the necessary points. Meanwhile, forward thinkers praised the bold pivot, viewing it as proof the old guard finally woke up to modern audience demands. Industry insiders whispered about her magic touch for ages, but this European meltdown proved her true leverage. The million-dollar mystery suddenly on everyone's mind. How could one kid hold the literal financial heartbeat of a major sporting event? It boils down to raw loyalty. To Filipinos worldwide, she represents way more than a racket and a ball. She's walking, breathing hope. Just a kid out of Manila who crashed the most elite country clubs globally, totally fearless and universally loved. She carries the ultimate O2F hustle on her back, proving that intense grit, blood, and blind faith actually pay off. When an underdog from the islands steps onto the court, defying stacked odds arenas do not just sell out, they become electric home games. The crowd roars hit differently, fueled by pure cultural fire, while the sea of waving flags proves exactly why seeing your own bloodline dominate changes everything. Alex Eala transcends the bounds of the court. She unites entire hemispheres, fusing cultures and crowds into one breathing entity: music. The arena in Linz braced for impact, about to witness a phenomenon millions already revere. Stepping onto the baseline, she embodies a movement rather than a simple match. One seasoned official noted earlier this season that her matches feel like fierce international battlegrounds. Fans scream for their homeland, backing a banner instead of just an athlete. That fierce loyalty prints pure cash. Gate receipts in Dubai skyrocketed 48% the second her name hit the bracket. Down in Miami, fans bought more of her gear than the rest of the entire roster put together. Before her arrival, the Linz event stared down the barrel of total bankruptcy. The math was brutal and absolute. Dropping Eala into a bracket instantly mints millions across box offices, apparel tents, and broadcast rights. Leaving her out bleeds those same tournaments dry. The Women's Tennis Association grinded for decades to expand the sport's footprint, only to stumble upon a superstar who delivers astronomical reach, leaving executives scrambling to contain her momentum. Scoring a wildcard bid for the Linz Open means vastly more to Alex Eala than securing a locker room spot. It signifies ultimate vindication. It confirms her immense worth transcends mere computer algorithms and standings, greater than music. She plummeted from 29th to 45th overall following a brutal fourth-round exit against Karolina Muchova in Miami. Those 390 points from her legendary 2025 semifinal charge vanished from the ledger. Now the grueling dirt courts loom large: Linz, Stuttgart, Madrid, Rome, and eventually Roland Garros. The uphill battle is terrifyingly steep. Music. Grinding out points on sluggish dirt requires surviving brutal topspin and exhausting marathon exchanges. Cement courts reward power, but clay demands ruthless strategy and ironclad composure. Music. Yet she carries an unquantifiable weapon into the fray: the rabid devotion of a homeland willing to cross oceans for her. She hits the Austrian clay-seeded 7th, chasing heavy hitters like Alexandrova, Tauson Samsonova, Ostapenko Navarro, and Raducanu. She must conquer dirtball veterans, champions who already own hardware on this treacherous terrain. Warriors with zero pressure on their shoulders. Yet she wields an advantage they could never buy. Greater than music. Thousands of screaming Filipino diehards swarming Europe to witness her magic. I might take the trophy, or I might crash out on day one. Eala confessed during a sit-down with tennis legend Andy Roddick. If the victory eludes me now, I will hunt it down at the next stop. That relentless mindset defines a future icon. Clutching that golden ticket, she steps into the fire. Just weeks prior, the Linz event faced catastrophic ruin. Box offices went silent while massive corporate backers threatened to pull their funding. Event executives pointed to one undeniable trigger for the chaos: Eala remained off the entry list. Following a devastating defeat to Karolina Muchova in Miami, the 20-year-old phenom slipped from 29th down to 45th globally. Absent her star power, the roaring crowds that historically jammed arenas from Melbourne all the way to South Florida vanished entirely. Music. Organizers stared down a catastrophic deficit capable of burying the franchise forever. Then the billionaires took control. Greater than music. Shattering protocol, they forced the association to hand Eala a main bracket pass. The mandate echoed loudly: put her on the court or we walk. Trapped in a massive nightmare they created, the league finally caved. Spanish icon Rafael Nadal, the man who spent 7 grueling years forging Eala into an absolute weapon at his camp, watched this entire meltdown happen from his headquarters in Murcia. He called the situation mind-blowing, noting he had never watched the competition's entire financial future rest on a competitor absent from the main roster. As Eala heads into the brutal European dirt swing starting in Linz, pushing through Stuttgart, Madrid, Rome, and Paris, she steps onto the court carrying a heavy aura no official leaderboard can ever quantify. It is the undeniable truth that her massive gravity in this sport stretches way beyond simple analytics. That notorious Czech jinx is still looming large today. Her historical performance on crushed brick might look average, but she wields a weapon vastly superior to any data point out there: the relentless roar of an entire country backing her up. So did the executives make the right call, handing Aya that highly controversial free pass straight into the